So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming to our last webinar of the year. Boy, it's been really fun to be with you. Some of you guys have been with us for every webinar we've done this year. And I believe this is our 5th or 6th one, and it's been really fun to do this series with you guys. So thank you for joining us for our last one. I'm not going to say we saved the best for last, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But we're really excited to be here with you guys today. And I'm joined by Brady Cook. Brady Cook is one of our team leaders here at the DMA, extremely experienced with lean manufacturing. He's been involved with it almost his entire career out of college. And Brady's going to be joining us today as really the host, and I'm his co-host. But Brady, you want to say hi to the guys?
Hey everyone, it's good to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here. My name is Graham Johnson. I'm the director of the DMA and get to work with you guys, and it's a great pleasure of mine. Get to work with guys like Brady, Bob, Mark, the guys at Plenums Plus and CDI Curbs. So it's always a pleasure to work with you all. And we're glad you're here today for our last webinar. Let's get into this, guys. So we decided to go with the shock and awe title for our webinar, Cut the Crap. This webinar today is going to be all about working smarter, not harder, how we do that as good leaders, how we are inspirational leaders. And then we're going to leave you with some really practical tools to make improvements. So for some of you guys who have been doing continuous improvement for a while, this could be review for you, but our hope is that we're going to give you some different insights into the things you already do and help you do them better. And that's really what the HVAC Duct Manufacturers Alliance is all about, is everyone who is here, everyone who interacts with us is already really good at building ductwork, is already really good at building curbs, is already really good at making spiral. But our hope is that you guys by joining with us and coming here and spending your time with us, will get even better at what you're already good at. So we're always all about refining the things we're already good at and working in our strengths. And so our goal today is to help strengthen you guys and give you something that excites you and is very practical and useful for you. So like we always do with our webinars, we're going to start off with a couple of questions. I'm going to let Brady take the first one. So here we go. You guys ready? All right, here we go.
So as a leader, where do you spend most of your time? Are you working on improvements? Are you putting out fires all day long? Are you dealing with the customers? Like, what is the biggest time suck of your day?
I'll go. I'm new to CDI, so I just took over their Dallas plant. So this is week 4 for me. So it's a little skewed, my answer, but a lot of my time is just on the floor with the team, getting to know them and getting to know our processes and product, and just sort of how we go about assembling everything and meeting expectations for our customers. But long term, in my role, really much more strategic and tactical stuff, making sure that we're meeting our plan not only for the day but for the week, and having like a 6 to 1 year outlook for this shop. So that's my answer.
Great.
Sam, what about you? What do you do? What's the biggest time suck of your day?
For me, I would say I'm very green to continuous improvement, and I'm still kind of getting my ropes with this new role that I'm in. But I would say, I'd say for any leader, honestly, it's like communication between the operations, plant level employees, and even that middle management supervision. Plant manager is definitely where most of the time is taken up for me, along with probably about 50-50 with actual idea generation and like developing strategic moves to make for like the plants that you're trying to improve. So definitely for me, that's kind of probably about 50-50 or 60-40, however you'd want to break it up.
Yep.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Me, half of the time, I gotta say I'm getting dirty, helping them out, getting the stuff done.
Awesome.
Whatever needs to get done for today.
That's very cool.
For me, I'm inside sales, and a lot of it is probably 75% is with customers and 25% is, you know, walking out on the floor and seeing what's going on.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you guys for sharing. I always like to lead in and say, you know, we always want this to be interactive, but you guys have taken that and run with it. So thank you for everybody for sharing. Brady, you got any more? Is that it?
I think that's it. Question number 2 is, do you guys ever feel overwhelmed when you see all the processes needing improvement?
Be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
So the whole goal for this webinar is to teach you guys how to work smarter and not harder, because we're all busting our butts every single day to try to make sure that everything is held together. We want to find a way to improve our lives, lessen the burden of the day-to-day work, and just make everyone around us shine as well. So the first way to do that, we're going to look at a term called Ginchi Genbutsu. Does anybody know what that actually means?
No.
No, nobody speaks Japanese here?
Nobody
Okay.
speaks. So its literal translation is actual place, actual thing. So how do we get to the actual place to see the actual thing? We need to get our boots on the ground. So if you remember one thing from today, Ginchi Genbutsu, go and see, get your boots on the ground. So the best way to understand a problem is to go and see. And I have a great story to illustrate this. I think I was still in high school. It was my first manufacturing job. Got it at a door factory. And you go in, you sign all your paperwork, they do your orientation. And then they pulled me into an office and they basically described the entire operation, glue spreaders, scissor lifts, rollers, door presses, all this stuff. And I had no idea what they were talking about. I sat there for an hour, my eyes glazed over, and I was like, can we just go and see what we're talking about? 5 minutes on the shop floor, and I understood exactly everything he had said. So instead of an hour, he could have walked me around the shop for 5 minutes, and I could have understood the whole operation. So when people come to you with problems, or they're trying to describe something, or they're wanting to make an improvement, instead of talking theory in your office, you always want to go and see. Actually setting foot on the shop floor and seeing the issues firsthand is the best way to grasp what's actually going on in your facility. And to add on to that, working with people rather than sitting in our office is one of the most powerful ways to show that we care. So our goal should always be to make people's jobs easier. The effort we make to make their days easier shows we really care. So when we're out on the shop floor, working with people, helping them improve, we have meaningful interactions. People feel like they can come and talk to us, and we genuinely showing we care about them by trying to make their day-to-day tasks easier, nicer, better lit. We're just trying to make their lives better. But on top of that, helping employees solve their problems in their own work areas show that we value them, and it empowers them to solve problems in the future. And this is the main point I want to drive home with this. So I was at an old job. I was chatting with my boss. He asked me, how are things going? What are your struggles? What are your problems? And, I had a list of 6 or 7 things. And, typically people are in a hurry and they just, well, do this. This is your solution. Go ahead and try this and that'll solve your problems. But instead, he asked me questions. He asked me why I did things the way I did. He offered a few suggestions, but then the most powerful thing he did was he told me to take the time and go and experiment. Try different things, be creative. Time, like when you're doing the same task, but with different orders or different processes, time it, see what's faster, what's easier. And instead of just giving me a solution and moving on with his day, I had a meaningful interaction. The owner of the company listened to me and I felt really valued. And he taught me how to solve my own problems instead of just giving me a solution. It's kind of like the old adage, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach him how to fish and he eats for a lifetime. So you want to teach your people how to solve your problems because it makes them feel valued. It actually gives them more power to make a stance and have a say in what they're doing day to day. And it actually takes some of the burden off of your shoulders. So do you guys have any thoughts, or have you had any moments like that where someone has taken the time with you to, teach you how to solve a problem or work through a situation where it really was meaningful interaction?
Those have been the best learning experiences for me. So yeah, absolutely.
Would just add to that, Brady, that by doing that and teaching them how to fish rather than giving them a fish, I've seen it over the history at our company that it's reduced turnover dramatically because the employees, it helps them feel valued and like their job matters and their contribution matters to the company. So not only reducing the burden off the management team and letting the shop guys solve the problems, it helps increase longevity with the company from the employees also.
Yeah, and to add on to that, nobody wants to do a job that sucks. Nobody wants to tackle the job that they dread day in and day out. So by giving them that power to solve the problem, they're fixing that crappy job and they're making it something that's easy and that anybody could do. And that's probably another great reason why it lessens the turnover within the company. Sam, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I find myself in continuous improvement being feeling the most productive and when I'm actually going and seeing a problem and then providing value to people and empowering them to solve their own problems. Showing up is the biggest factor in showing the employees how we care. And that's the biggest one for me is however I can add value, that's where I want to be. And I love what Bob said about the value piece of things. It's nobody, even what you said, Brady, nobody wants to do a job that sucks. And if we can do anything to alleviate that, I mean, that's the end goal, right?
Absolutely.
And I think the cool part too is when you're out interacting with the shop people and you're asking them questions and you're helping them solve their problems, you learn a lot as well. So it's not just one-sided, like you're helping them. When you're in the nitty-gritty and you're out there doing, you're asking questions and you're seeing the processes and you're actually on the shop floor seeing what's going on, you learn a lot too. So it's actually a two-way street that helps both you and the person you're working with improve and get better in your day-to-day work. So it all starts with you. And you need to lead by example, but you have to remember that improvement isn't an edict. It's not something you can tell the people in the shop, you need to improve. It's something that you need to model yourself. You need to make your work easier. You need to make your day smoother. You need to have less stress. You need to have more joy and smile and have a great time at work. People notice. And when they do, they will want what you have. So instead of commanding that people improve, you're actually sucking them into the lean life and making them want what you have on a day-to-day basis. But with great power or improvement, you also need to be accessible. You need to always be available to go and help. And you have to remember, it takes a lot of courage to ask for help and be honored that people are asking you for it. It means they have noticed how easy your workday is. They've noticed how smooth your work is. They've noticed how many fewer mistakes you make, how much less stress you have. And remember to always go and humbly help them. Always be accessible, always be humble, and always be willing to get dirty, jump in and help with any problem in the shop. And as I said on the last slide, don't be the answer guy. You always want to be the question guy. The goal isn't to provide a solution. It is to teach them how to solve their own problems. And when they learn to solve their own problems, in turn, your life actually becomes easier because you're not running around from station to station, putting out fires or fixing broken machines. You can actually focus on helping more people solve their problems, improving your own processes, improving relations with customers, working on sales calls. You're not stuck running around always trying to be the answer guy and never having any time for your own tasks or your own improvement. And I remember, Jaime, you said earlier about 80% of your time was on the shop floor getting dirty, and that is super important. Show your back, be present on the shop floor. That is the number one way, honestly, to show people that you care, is to be out there, interact with them, help when, the shop is overburdened, and just get yourself out of your office and interact with the people on the shop floor. And just remember, none of us is as smart as all of us. Just wondering if you guys had any input or any thoughts or something stuck out to you.
Also, mistakes will be done along the way, not to chew them out if they make a mistake, because then next time they try to correct or solve their problem, they're going to be afraid, because if they screw up again or something, okay, he's going to come out and chew my ass out,
Well, that's a great point. And we also need to remember that people don't make mistakes on purpose. It's not like they come into work, clock in, and like, what can I screw up today? It's usually a problem with the process, or the shop paperwork wasn't clear, or, there could be a myriad of other things, but people never maliciously go out of their way to cause a mistake or do harm to the company. So that's a very good point.
I think that's good. I mean, empowering people to take action more than anything is something that the leadership team at CDI has been very adamant about for continuous improvement, is taking action over just talking about it, and like having I'd much rather have someone take action and then redirect their energy somewhere else, even if they might have made the wrong decision, and then helping them get them to the right decision, if that makes sense, or the right action.
Amen, Sam.
Preach it.
Yeah. All
So
right.
I guess the number one question you guys might be asking yourself then is, where do I start? And Graham is going to teach us.
All right. Thanks, Brady. So yeah, I think this is a natural next question. A lot of times when I'm working with leaders and I tell them and make them aware that, hey, it starts with you, then oftentimes that first question back to me is, well, how do I even get started? And I remember I've had the pleasure to train a lot of organizations in continuous improvement. And every time when I'm there, I engage the leadership in a waste walk, where we go out and we look for inefficiencies. We don't try to place blame. We don't try to fix anything. We just look and try to identify inefficiency. And every time I've done this with companies, we go out with clipboards and a sheet of paper, and I give them specific categories of inefficiency to look at, waste. And they go out there and they're just completely overwhelmed, because there is so much work to do. There is so much opportunity for improvement. And so this is a question that comes up all the time, is like, there is so much that needs my attention. There is so much to do. Where do I even start? And when we're talking about what Brady's talked about with leadership, in regards to leadership and how you help your people, they're oftentimes feeling the same thing. And even if you're showing your back and you're leading by example, and they see that and say, wow, well, Sam is a stud. Obviously, he's out there making all these improvements and he's the continuous improvement guy, but how do I get started? How do I participate in this? And I think whether you're the leader or you're a team member who's trying to get involved with continuous improvement, I always say the same thing. You start by cutting the crap. And how we do that is through a process called 5S. And 5S, I think, is a great foundation for making improvements in your shop or at your desk, in your office, even at home, in your car, whatever it may be. 5S is a great place to start. So can anyone tell me what 5S is, or give me like a brief definition? I know that we got a number of continuous improvement pros in here. So can anyone tell me what 5S is?
Chris, you got this one.
I'm gonna let you take it, man.
Don't be shy.
It's a discipline. It's a process for sorting and keeping things organized and structured. And it's a way of maintaining that into perpetuity. So I don't remember all the S's.
That's fine. That's fine.
But sort, sustain, I know those two. But it's a mindset, and it's a way to operate at a more efficient level.
Awesome. Great answer. And I like that you led off with calling it a discipline, because that's absolutely what it is. And you named two of the 5 S's, which is great. You named two really important ones. And in my experience, typically not the ones that are named out of the gate. Anyone else want to chime in here? Okay.
Show off, Sam.
Salt, sustain.
So somebody said sort, sustain, what else?
Salt.
Set in order,
Set in order, yeah.
standardize.
Standardize. It's so
Shine.
funny, you guys have hit all four, but the one that I hear the most, which is shine or sweep. And it's funny because when I talk to people, especially people who have done lean or continuous improvement for a little while, and I say, hey, let's go 5S this, or what are you guys 5Sing? That often becomes another word for cleaning, right? Cleaning things up. And really, I mean, cleaning is a big piece of the 5S cycle, but it is only one piece. So I love Chris's responses. It's a discipline. It absolutely is. So we call it 5S because it's 5 S words, the good S words, that combine to allow us to improve our processes in meaningful and sustainable ways. So I'm going to go through the 5S cycle and just give you a brief overview of what each of the S's are, and then show you how you can use these to improve your processes and empower your people. So let's get started with this. The first one is to sort. So if we're going to cut the crap with 5S, the first step in 5S is to sort, which very simply is getting rid of everything you don't use or don't need. So 5S is obviously a lot more than just cleaning, but it is a discipline. And so when we talk about getting rid of things you don't use or need, that can be really challenging. And one thing that I've noticed in my travels and seeing different shops is that people don't really like to get rid of stuff on their desks or at their workstations. They like to have their things, but the problem is that you start accumulating more and more and more. And as your workspace gets cluttered, it gets inefficient. You're not able to work through things as fast as you could, as easily as you could, and you make your work actually harder on yourself. And so the first step of 5S is improving is to get rid of the things you don't use or you don't need. And the technique that I like to use for this, I call it the box technique. And it's very simple. Get a cardboard box, right? This is the box technique. So put it by your desk or put it by your workstation. Maybe it's whether it's maybe your canvas connector station, maybe it's a roll former, a bench, whatever it may be. You can do this whether you're working in the office or you're working in the shop, or maybe you're working out of your car. You can do this in any possible way. But get a cardboard box is the first step. The second step is you put everything in it. Put everything in it. Now, don't put your monitor in it. Don't put your laptop in it. But every single tool, put it in there. Even if it's your pair of snips that you use 4 times every time you touch a piece of ductwork, put it in there. Put everything on your desk in there and get your desk clean. Get it cleared off. And then as you work throughout the day, and you pull your tools out of your box, place them back on your desk. Now, don't worry necessarily about where you place them. We're not to the point of creating home locations or anything like that. I just want you to pull things out of the box. And as time goes on, say about a week or so, and you'll know based on where your workstation is. I mean, if it's your desk, it might take a little longer. If it's an actual workstation where you're producing product, probably won't take a whole week to know what you need. But after 1 week of pulling things out of the box, you have basically the essentials to get the job done. But I guarantee you're not going to have an empty box. So keep the experiment going. After 1 month, you will still have some things in your box. Maybe if a month is too long, call it 2 weeks. I like 2 weeks better, but I give people grace, so I say a month. But after a longer period of time, you're going to still have things in your box, and that shows you that those are the things you don't use on a regular basis. Get those out of there, throw them away, put them in storage, find the right home for them, whatever it may be. And once you've done this exercise, and you can do this a couple of times to really get refined if you want, but once you do this, you will have the tools that you actually need to do your work at your station. And so from that point, now we start getting into some of the other S's. And so now we get to set it in order and we get to shine it. So the first one, setting in order, is all about arranging things in the order they're used and keeping the things you use the most closest to you. So the idea behind this is we want to reduce reaching because that's a waste of motion. It's a waste of time. We want to get things in order. So I don't want you going, okay, I need the snips and then I need the tape measure and then I need my pen and then I need my scribe over here and then I need my hammer. All those back and forths are opportunities for waste to occur, for you to scratch a piece of ductwork, for you to dent something, for something to go missing. So in all that back and forth is a lot of waste and inefficiency. So if you set things in order, say you need your your snips, then you need your scribe, your pen, your tape measure, your hammer. Then you get those things in the order of how you use them, and that helps you work more efficiently and not only get the job done faster, but it's way more comfortable, it's more ergonomic, it's less stressful on the employee, and when things are orderly, it makes a really nice place to work in. So once you've done your box technique and you have the things you need, get them in the right places. Then we go on to cleaning. So sometimes you have to do the shine piece first, because if your workspace is just an absolute disaster, sometimes you have to do that first. But it's at this point that you can really get intentional about shining up your workstation. Some people use the word sweep there instead. I like shine because I think it speaks to another piece of 5S that we don't always talk about, which is the importance of keeping things clean so you can understand when those abnormalities or those anomalies happen, and you can understand why. So we clean the work area and we keep it neat, and a clean environment reveals abnormalities. So I'll give you an example of this. There was a duct shop that I used to go to very regularly, helping them out with continuous improvement. And every time I went by their press brake, 10-foot press brake, there would be a pool of oil on the floor. And so they kept trying different things to get rid of it. They'd get absorbent pads, they'd throw kitty litter on it. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys have seen it all. If you have this in your shop, don't raise your hand, but this is an opportunity for you, so listen up. So I would go to this shop regularly and I would see the pool of oil on the floor, then I'd see a pile of kitty litter on the floor, then I'd see absorbent pads on the floor, but they were never going up the chain of the problem and really addressing the root cause issue, which was that there was a leak happening at the pump. So what I encouraged them to do was to clean the whole machine down, because as you know, duct shop, they get dirty. So the whole machine, the backside of it especially, was covered in grease, dust, little bits of metal and shavings and things like that, you know, all the things that accumulate. And then when you start trying to soak up oil with cat litter, now there's cat litter on everything too. So it's really not a great solution. But I encourage them to clean the back of the machine so they could understand where the source of the waste was coming from. And so when they did that, they understood that they had some cracked hoses in the back. And so they were able to replace those, and poof, no more oil on the floor, no more kitty litter, no more absorbent pads, no more potential injuries or anything like that. And so a clean environment reveals those abnormalities. But if you are working in an area that is constantly dirty, then you can't really see where the source of the dirt is coming from. You might actually have a defect or an opportunity to make an improvement up the chain. And by drilling down and finding the root cause of the waste, which is a lot easier to do when you have a clean environment, you can solve problems at the root that alleviate not only your current presenting problem, so you don't have to keep band-aiding it with kitty litter, but it can actually solve other problems as well. It helps keep the entire shop cleaner. It reduces wear on the casters on your carts, so you don't have to replace wheels. It keeps them quieter, all those different things. I mean, there's so many different things that can be alleviated by you solving waste at the root. And one of the easiest ways to get to the root cause of the waste is to keep a neat environment so you can see clearly where the waste is coming from and then attack it more intentionally. So shining is a really key piece, and it's not just about cleaning up. Any questions on the first 3 S's of 5S so far? Any comments? Getting a thumbs up from Chris. All right, Chris, you want me to keep going? Okay. All right, thank you guys. One last thing I'll leave you with before I go on to the next one is this. Cleaning up is only an improvement once, so find the source of the mess and fix it. So for those of you who are doing continuous improvement, if you're checking in on people and asking them whether they're improving, and they say, oh, I'm 5S'ing over here, I'm 5S'ing over here, I'm 5S'ing over here. If they're only doing 1S, which is sweeping up, that's not actually an improvement. You can clean it up once, or maybe if you're feeling generous, once a year or once a quarter. But really, you should be using this as a tool to find the root causes of your waste and fix those so that you don't have to clean every day. I think a great example of this is trays under a coil line to catch little clips and shavings and things that come down. That's a great improvement that I've seen a lot of shops do versus just letting it fall on the floor. And then you always have to go back and clean it up, and you hit your head on the coil line and it's just a mess. Everyone hates it, so it doesn't get done. And then your shop looks really messy. There's just a lot of reasons why you would want to automate the cleaning and maintenance of your machines. And you can do that with 5S. So here's a couple of examples of what 5S looks like. I think I've given you some examples already, but we'll just do a little before and after. So this is a chemical cabinet, if you will, a flame-proof cabinet. And on the left is pre-5S, and on the right is after somebody did 5S. So you can see on the left, it's total chaos. If you were going in there and looking for lacquer thinner or something like that, you would have to do a lot of searching to try to find it. If you were looking for a bottle of Loctite in that mess, you'd have to empty out the shelves to try to find it. It'd be a nightmare. And if it were me, I'd probably go open a new one or buy a new one or something like that versus try to actually go through this thing. And so when you have that as the standard on the left-hand side, and I'm coming to put something back in there, what do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to try to find a nice spot for it, or what? I'm gonna chuck it. If I've got a bottle of something and I open up the cabinet and it looks like the left-hand side, I'm just going to take whatever I have and like, okay, that's good enough, because the standard has been set that it is good enough. Versus on the right side, if I open up the cabinet and I see that and I'm trying to put something away in there, I'm going to take a lot more care. I'm going to make it look orderly. I'm going to make a little label for it. I'm going to make sure that I am not the one that makes it go from the right side to the left side. I want to keep the order in place. So by doing 5S, you also set a great standard in your shop of how you want it to operate, how you want it to look. This also applies if you have a computer. So anybody have a desktop that looks like the left-hand side there? No? Just me?
Kind of. Not quite that bad.
That one's pretty far gone. That one's pretty bad. But I'll ask you this: which desktop do you think is more productive, the left or the right?
Yeah, the right by far.
Yeah, which employee do you think is more productive?
The right.
Yep, and probably happier and less stressed out too, because that looks like a really nice environment. Like I could actually get work done there. On the left-hand side, forget about it. I'm going to lose things. I'm going to have people coming back to me saying, "Hey, where's my this? Where's my that?" I'm going to be recreating things I already made because I couldn't find it. And so your pathways to inefficiencies are really opened up when you get organized and get cleaned and get things in the right place. So those are some examples of 5S in the real world. I'm sure none of you have anything that looks like the left side of either of these pictures in your shop, but just know that that can happen. And if it does, 5S is the way. So let's talk about the last two S's here. So the fourth one is standardize, which is to create a standard for your station. A phrase I like is a place for everything and everything in its place. So making sure once you've sorted everything out, right? You've done the box technique and you only have the things you use on your desk, and then you set them in order of how you use them and get them close to your hands so you can work efficiently, and you clean up. And now you want to make permanent homes for those things. And you can do that in a number of ways. I like visual controls personally. I think visual controls are fantastic, as that takes the form of maybe a label, a color code, a shadow board, a foam board. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but getting things really orderly and saying, you know, if my snips go missing, I can see it right away when I walk up to my station. I can see that, hey, snips should be there and they're not there because I have an outline of where they should be, or a foam insert of where they should be. Or if I work at a station and I've chosen green as my color code, so I've put a little green sticker on all of my tools, and there's a red one there, it's like immediately, oh, something's not right. This shouldn't be here. Or if you're walking through the shop and you see your green tool somewhere else, it's like, oh, somebody stole my tool. I need to grab that. And why did that go away? And then you can engage in a conversation. But you want to make sure everything has a place. And then you practice the sustain. So like Chris said, this is the discipline, right? Where you start the habit of maintaining that standard, keeping people accountable, making sure you yourself are accountable, keeping things in proper working order, right? So keeping it neat, not letting things pile up. I remember there was one company, I helped them get more efficient with their flex connectors. And they were able to go from 15 minutes building a flex connector to about 3 minutes building a flex connector by applying mostly 5S principles. And one of the issues they had was at the table where they built these things, they had about 6 pairs of snips lying on the table. Now, I've never met someone with 6 arms, so I'm not sure why you would have 6 sets of snips there for one. I never even met someone who could use 2 snips at the same time. So you only need 1 pair of snips. So why are there 6? Well, because they go missing. because people opened another one, because they just got parked there, because one of them's worn out and should have been thrown away 6 months ago. There's a lot of reasons, but this is where that sustain piece comes in. Keep it in working order and keep the other S's in line, and then share your standard with others and set expectations. And I'm going to tell you guys right now that implementing visual controls is one of the best ways that you can set the expectation that, hey, we keep it neat, we keep it orderly, because it makes our work easier, it reduces stress, it makes sure we're operating at peak efficiency. And visual controls are one of the best ways to help enforce that. So let's talk about visual controls in just a little bit more detail. And I like this phrase right here: visual controls let you free your brain. So we've all been gifted with this incredible brain, the ability to think and sort things out and solve problems and see issues before they arise. And we're all good at that. That's why we're here. But we ask a lot of our brains. And sometimes we ask things of our brains that are just downright insulting, like trying to figure out where the snips are, right? Or cleaning up your area. We're better than that. Our brains are better than that. And so how can we automate the process of standardization and kind of automate the discipline? And one of the best ways to do that is with visual controls. So it's one of the easiest ways to set standards in your shop. And the reason why is because people respond to that visual cue faster and more accurately than a block of text or trying to recall what somebody told them. It helps the new guy as much as it helps the seasoned veteran in your shop, and it communicates beyond language and ability. So if you have people who don't speak the same language as you, visual controls still help them be successful. If you have people who maybe don't read, that's absolutely a thing in our industry. You know, we have people in our shops who don't read well, and that can be very embarrassing. This can help them still be successful and maintain their dignity as well. So when we talk about instant recognition and visual controls, I'm going to flash something up on the screen. I want you guys all to unmute. I'm going to flash something up on the screen, and when I do, I want you to tell me what it means. Okay? 3, 2, 1.
Stop.
Sign.
Now, how did you know that?
The shape and color.
The shape, the color, right? But it doesn't say stop on it. What if it said go? Right? It doesn't.
You melt my brain.
This is a standard. So I live in Washington State. I'm about 25 miles from the Canadian border. And Canada has 2 national languages, English and French. And so when you get up to Canada and you get to the border, any national government official things, federal things in Canada is in English and French. And so the stop signs are in French, but I still stop because I know what it means. Right now, I don't speak French apart from a couple of, pardon my French, kind of French, but I still know when I see this thing that I need to stop. And I don't need to arrête or whatever, however you say that in French, arrêt. I don't know does anyone speak French? Okay, well, we'll go with that. So that instant recognition, your brain knows what to do before you can even process the information on this. So the word stop is not even necessary here. It also communicates beyond language and ability. So going back to my French story, I knew to stop even though the stop sign's in French when I go over the border. But I want to flash another sign here. We all have signs and things like this in our shops, maybe on our machines. And so if I'm looking at this sign is communicating 2 different things. On the right side, there is a wall of text of the do's and do nots and why you might not want to stick your hand in this machine. But on the left, that's what I looked at first. I'm sure you guys did too. It's like, oh, my hand's gonna get messed up if I screw this up. I need to watch out for my eyes. I don't want my hand under that thing coming down. I don't want to put my hand in the roller, all these things. So it warns you before you have the time to read the 3 or 4 paragraphs on the right, oh crap, I need to watch out for this thing coming down, something coming up in my eyes, these rolling things that my hand's gonna go in. And that is communicated whether you speak Spanish, whether you speak Chinese, whether you speak English, whether you speak French, whatever it may be, that information is conveyed accurately because of good visual controls. Here's another one, stoplight. So I won't ask you guys what this means. You all know what this means. But did you know that the lights are always in order for people who are colorblind? So if you're colorblind, you can still tell what you're supposed to do. So visual controls help you communicate beyond language and ability. It helps new and veteran team members. So these are a couple of improvements from DMA member shops, and some really good visual controls and color coding. So on the right there, when they need to do maintenance on this machine, they have to disconnect the hoses. And if you don't hook the hoses back up right, you can cause some serious problems and mess. So what they did is they color coded it blue to blue, yellow to yellow, red to red. Now anybody can do this, right? It doesn't take a super seasoned mechanic to do this right. Anybody can do this. Your newest guy can do this. But also this will save a veteran team member from making a silly mistake. So one thing I remember from driver's ed is that they told me that I will have most of my accidents when I'm brand new and then when I've been driving forever. And the reason behind that is that when I'm brand new, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to make silly mistakes. I'm not going to react properly and so on and so forth. But when I'm very seasoned, I'm going to make mistakes because I'm just coasting on my experience and my muscle memory, right? And so that's true in a duct shop as well. You have your brand new people, and for anybody who's trying to hire right now, it's very difficult to find people who have experience in a sheet metal shop. So you're bringing in people who not only don't know ductwork, but maybe have never even touched a hammer, and now they're coming to work for you. So how can we help them become more successful? Visual controls are a great way to bridge that gap. And then it also helps your veteran team members from making a silly mistake by just color coding this stuff. So similarly on the left side, I think these are stick pins or liner pins. And it's very simple to say, hey, blue is 1.5 inch, so I need to get the blue bucket, and then it goes back in the blue bucket when I'm done, and so on and so forth. So not everybody can tell the difference between 3/4 and 1/2 inch, but you can definitely tell the difference between yellow and red. So the whole idea here is to make it easy to get the job done. So here's some practical ways that you guys can do it. I mean, all these things that I've just shown are applicable in your shops, but get into color coding, create some home labels for things to get things back to where they belong. Paint machines and surfaces to show abnormalities. Keep it clean and keep it nice so you can see where things are breaking down. Create tool and shadow boards, post pictures of how things should be done and how they should look. This is a really key thing as well. So going back to the sustain part of 5S, if you take a picture of your station looking perfect, people are going to want to uphold that standard. They're going to want to leave it as good as they found it. They're not going to try to sabotage you, going back to what Brady said. So if you can really establish that standard with visual controls, you will help people become successful. My favorite one on this whole slide right here is that coffee jug there on the lower right. So this is for people making coffee. So it's not just to save you from making a mistake in ductwork, but how do you make coffee? Well, don't put more water in than this. I mean, this is really easy to follow. Even for someone who doesn't drink coffee, they could be successful in this. So this is applicable no matter what you're doing. But visual controls will serve to free your brain, and they are one of the key pieces that really makes 5S sustainable and easy for you, and something you don't have to always keep revisiting. So as you 5S, apply visual controls and just always be thinking, how can I automate the difficulty of this process? How can I make this easier? Any thoughts, questions? Anyone want to tell me about the visual controls in your shop? You got anything cool to share?
I got a cheesy one. I have my own little desktop caddy shadow board here.
Nice.
So at the end of the day, if my Sharpie's missing, it's going to show this white blank, and I know I need to go and find it. Or if my actual pen's missing, I got 2 slots that show that before I leave, I need to track down my Sharpie and my pen. So next morning, I'm set up for success.
And you even got your tissues in there.
Oh yeah, well, it's out, but thankfully,
yeah, I noticed that.
As soon as I need them,
the next webinar. Next webinar, we'll talk about Kanban. We'll get Brady a Kanban for his tissue box. Anybody else want to share any thoughts on visual controls or 5S?
I've used it in the past, and to what Graham's saying, like it is a game changer. It just makes things very simple, and to your point, like people don't want to mess it up. Like you almost kind of trigger everyone's sort of minor OCD, where they want to put things back. It's like putting together a puzzle every day. So I've done it in the past. We're looking to do it here. That's one of the things I'm partnering with Sam on. So I can attest it's a game changer for the floor.
Awesome.
It just stands out to me too that when everything's organized like this, the stress level goes down dramatically. Life just becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
The little things make the biggest difference, especially with the little things like shadow boards. Any way that we can mitigate that stress level always leads to a big impact.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen this too, but I've seen people literally walk off the job because their stuff wasn't there. Like their tools were missing and that was the last straw. And they're like, I can't even do it. I gotta go take a day, right? I've seen people do that, and then people get really possessive about their stuff, especially if it's their own tools in the shop too. But people get really possessive about their stuff, and this is a huge stress reliever. So absolutely, thank you, Bob and Sam, absolutely.
The cool thing to add too is that if you have standardized your work area and you've made your shadow board and you know exactly what's supposed to be in there, you're not going to start a process and be knee deep in some, duct project or whatever you're working on and then not have the right tools. Before you even start, you can look at your board and be like, in this example, I'm missing my hammer. I need my hammer to put the ductwork together. I better go track that down before I'm too far into it and have to stop and all our efficiencies are lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to Brady's point as well, it also serves as a jumping off point for future improvement. So if your hammer is gone, a Band-Aid solution would be go get your hammer. But if you really want to improve, you got to ask the question, why did my hammer go missing? Because someone needed it over there. Why did they need it over there? Because they didn't have one. Why didn't they have one? So that you start drilling down to the root cause of the issue and say, hey, my hammer's missing because they need one on the other side of the shop. So if I get them one, my hammer's going to come back, hopefully. And you try that out, and that is continuous improvement in a nutshell, is asking the question, finding the root cause of the waste, trying a solution out and testing that out and seeing how you go. And the whole goal here is to just make these incremental improvements that improve your life, improve your work, and make work pleasurable and make it easier, make it more enjoyable, and make a better product for your customers, increase efficiency, get more profitable. All these things will be there for you if you apply 5S, if you apply visual controls. Everything that you want is there for you. It's a really great entry into continuous improvement, and a great entry for your newest people who are just learning how to participate in a continuous improvement culture. 5S and visual controls are a great way to get started and a great way to get your people trained and up to speed and level the difference between your veteran and your new operators as well. So I encourage you guys to try this out. In fact, I encourage it so much I made it your homework. So this is your task, guys, for the future. And I'm speaking to the leaders now. Everyone on this call is a leader. And going back to what Brady said, show your back, lead by example. This is how you do it. So I want each of you to get a cardboard box and keep it by your desk. Keep it by your desk until the end of next week. And as you're bringing things out of that cardboard box, make a home for them. Start the 5S process on your own desk or workstation. And when people come by and say, hey, why is your cardboard box on the floor full of stuff? Are you leaving? Did you get fired? What's happening? People are going to ask you these questions, and you can engage them in a conversation and say, no, I'm practicing the box technique, which is the first piece of 5S. Well, what's 5S? And now you have an opportunity to share more about continuous improvement and be that inspirational leader who's showing them how they can make their work better. So that's your homework, guys. Find a cardboard box and fill it up with your stuff and cut the crap on your desk. All right?
All right.
So guys, thank you for being with us. We want to open it up to any questions you may have. I really appreciate your participation through this whole thing, but does anyone have any final questions or comments?
When's the next webinar?
A great question. We actually haven't booked it yet. So we're looking to do that probably, I would guess it'll be in February. But we also have another opportunity I want to talk to you about. I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to make sure there's time for anyone else who wants to ask a question. Okay. So as you all know, it would not be a Duct Manufacturers Alliance webinar without me making a brief pitch. And I just want to invite you guys to connect deeper with us. If this webinar was of value to you guys, I want you to know that there's a lot more here with the Duct Manufacturing Alliance. We've got Plenums Plus here, who they've been members with us for a number of years now, and we've seen them grow in such incredible ways, empowering their people, making great improvements and gaining efficiencies. So I want to thank you guys for being with us today. But I want to just introduce the Duct Manufacturers Alliance to you. So Dale Hedges, who some of you know, couldn't be with us today. Dale, Brady, and myself are the group leaders of the DMA, and we're all continuous improvement experts. But it's not just about continuous improvement, it's continuous improvement for duct manufacturers. And we've really cracked the code on how to use lean principles in a duct shop to reduce costs, increase efficiency, and engage your employees. And hopefully you've seen a little bit of that today. This is kind of what our training looks like and our coaching looks like. So we didn't invent continuous improvement. It's a blended idea of a lot of different proven principles from industries, from automotive, healthcare, different philosophies that we have brought in to develop continuous improvement. And it's by duct builders for duct builders. So we've taken what works in ductwork and we've refined it over many years and lots of failed experiments. We've refined it down into what's relevant and effective for HVAC duct manufacturers. And really what we offer is by duct builders for duct builders. So we're not outside consultants that are, have our head in the clouds or aren't engaged with what's going on. We know what a swedger is, right? I mean, we're you guys, and we want to help you guys get better at what you do. And the reason why we exist is that we find a lot of duct manufacturers don't get the results they're looking for all the time. It's inconsistent. And our goal is to provide you with not only a training, but a network of people who have your back and are committed to getting better at what we do and running after those results we want. And so when you join us, guys, everybody wins. We will coach you guys towards better products and shorter lead times, stronger bottom lines and profitability, equip you for growth that's sustainable and not reliant on you being a rock star, and giving your employees a better opportunity in a true career. So if any of that's of interest to you guys, we want to have a conversation with you because we've helped a lot of people revolutionize their duct manufacturing with continuous improvement. And there's no reason why you can't be next. And so we'd love to partner with you guys, get to know your organization better, and see how we can help you get better at what you're already good at. And going back to what Sam was asking, when's the next webinar? Well, we don't have that booked yet, but what we do have booked is some time at the AHR ASHRAE show in Las Vegas. So hopefully this is on your radar, guys. Last year it was canceled, unfortunately, due to COVID. But this is an incredible show. There's hundreds of thousands of people there. All the vendors are there. It's going to be in Vegas, so it's going to be a party. But the party you really want to come to is our party. The DMA will be there. We'll be hosting a luncheon and social time. You guys just had to suffer through me doing a pitch. I'm not going to pitch you there. But what we want is for you to come in, have a beer on us, meet the people in the organization, meet other people who are partnered with the Duct Manufacturers Alliance, and see if it's a good fit for your business. We hope you'll come and connect with us during the AHR Expo, and you will be everyone on this call will be receiving more information about how to interact with us there in Vegas. So we hope to see you there if you're planning on being there. If not, Sam, don't worry, we got more webinars coming. We'll let you know what they are. But that is it for us, you guys. So thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us. Brady, any closing comments from you?
No, just thanks for listening. It's great to have you guys on.
Yeah. Are there any final questions before we close, guys?
To say thank you, Graham and Brady. Appreciate your time.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Bob, Sam,
yeah,
Chris.
Great job. Great job, guys. Just a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. I mean, if you can't tell, we're passionate about this. Brady and I live, eat, breathe this stuff. Brady and I wouldn't even know each other if it weren't for continuous improvement. So we love this stuff, and this is how we operate. We appreciate your time, guys. Yeah, like I said, we're not fancy consultants. We're a couple of dudes. We want to help you get better, and we appreciate your time, and hope some of our passion can bleed over to you guys as you lead with inspiration and lead your companies to greater and greater things. So I appreciate you all being here. Bob, thank you. Mark,
Thank you,
Chris, Sam,